Nintendo Switch 2 is currently 370 days old, and with the internet being around and being such a vast thing for people to explore, that means some misinformation gets spread and people believe it. So today we are going to be busting 10 Nintendo Switch 2 myths. Well, we're going to be testing them and seeing if we can bust them. So let's get straight into it. The first myth that we are going to be busting is Nintendo Switch 2 games work on the Nintendo Switch 1. I can tell you this right now. No, they don't. Nintendo Switch 1 was designed differently so it would work with its own game cards, and these are made faster and they run better than what these do, and they're not built for this console. For the sake of the video, we're going to try it anyway. Here you go, we're going to pop the game card in there. And I know what happened there. Because it's Super Mario Party Jamboree, which you actually can't see at all, or get B-roll of this later. It read it as Super Mario Party Jamboree for the Switch one. Okay, let's try something else. We're going to try DK Bonanza. I don't know if this is... There you go. That's what we get. It says Nintendo Switch 2 software cannot be played on this console. Visit Nintendo support website for more information. So there. Myth busted. You cannot... The Switch 2 games do not work on the Nintendo Switch 1. Myth number 2 that we are going to be busting is Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges still taste awful. Now, if you'll know, the thing about the Switch 1, people were eating the cartridges to see how bad they taste, and yeah, when the Switch 2 came out, they tried it with that, so yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I know they taste awful. I've seen clips of people do it. Never in a million years am I putting one of them things in my mouth. Hell no. So the next myth that we are going to be debunking or busting about the Nintendo Switch 2 is that it actually loads quicker than the Nintendo Switch 1. So because I don't have like 2 copies of a game, I'm going to record the game loading on both consoles at separate times. I will put a timer next to it on the video, on the edit, and this is what you see. So, I think it's safe to say that is another myth busted. The Nintendo Switch 2 loads way quicker than Nintendo Switch 1, as to be expected. The next myth that we're going to be busting is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, but Switch 1 Joy-Cons can attach to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now obviously this is fake, because the Switch 1 works with rails and not magnets. But you can of course connect them to the Switch 2 using the connection Bluetooth thing. Next up, we have the myth of Nintendo Switch 2 cases being larger than Nintendo Switch 1 cases. As you can see, this is not true. It's just the Nintendo Switch 2 case has more blank space at the top, which I don't know, makes it look bigger. In my opinion, it makes it look smaller, but hey ho, what do I know? I was very close. A, that nearly hit me in the face, and B, DK Bonanza nearly landed on its spine. Okay, next up is something which you all know is fake. We have a Switch 1 dock. We have Switch 2. Yeah, it don't fit. The holes don't line up on the Switch 2 with the pins that are inside the Switch 1 dock, so obviously you know it's not going to work. Even if it did fit inside, this thing is not going to be able to run this console, not at all. Myth busted. Next up, we have also the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Switch 2 Joy-Cons working with Switch 1. I'll show you. If you hold down the sync button, press L and R, it's not going to work. This console was designed to work with these Joy-Cons only, and also the third-party stuff. These were made to work with the Switch 2 only. There's no backwards compatibility with this. Or would it be forwards compatibility? Because this came before Switch 2. Next up, we have apparently Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Cons no longer experience the infamous Joy-Con drift. I can tell you firsthand, this is fake. They both have Joy-Con drift. Not mine. I'm not saying mine have Joy-Con drift. I'm saying we all know Switch 1 has Joy-Con drift. My sister has a Switch 2. Her red Joy-Con 2 has a stick drift, which is actually really hard to play Mario Kart with. But yes, they did not fix the stick drift on the Switch 2. Myth busted. Okay, next up, apparently you can play a digital game on the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo Switch 2 at the same time. You may have just heard that scream. For the sake of this video, we have loaded up Croc Legend of the Gobbos on the Nintendo Switch 2. We're also going to load up Croc Legend of the Gobbos. We're going to try and load the virtual game card. As you can see, could not eject the virtual game card. Close the software on the following console and then try again, and it shows that it's loaded on my Nintendo Switch 2 because it is loaded on my Nintendo Switch 2. So that is another myth busted. Also, Croc Legend of the Gobbos remake. Really love that game. Absolutely love 100% in that. Anyway, on to the next myth. For our last and final myth, we have Nintendo Switch 2 games show up on the original Nintendo Switch. Now this is technically true, because as you can see on my Nintendo Switch 1, I have Pokemon Pokopia, I have WWE 2K25, I have Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, obviously we showed Nintendo Switch 2 games do not work on the Nintendo Switch 1. How this is possible is doing it via Game Share, so you use Game Share from the Switch 2, download it onto the Switch 1, you can play in co-op, and then they stay on the home menu. Another myth busted. So that brings us to the end of our Nintendo Switch 2 myth busting. Where are my Joy-Cons? But yeah, as you can see, we busted pretty much all of these myths, and I think only one of them were true. I don't know. Yeah, I actually really like this video. I'm not sure if it was a long video or not. Probably not. Probably only 5 or 6 minutes. But as you can see, a lot of these myths that we tested, they're not true. So, moral of the video, don't believe everything you read online, because the majority of it is not true. There's a lot of false information spread about the Switch 2, or about everything. So always do your research, like I just did. I tested all of these myths. Other than one, I'm not eating a Switch cartridge. Hell no. If you want to try that, that's your decision. That's your problem. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Just Google people eating Switch cartridges. Do not eat Switch cartridges. Bad. Naughty, naughty. Do not do it. That's the end of the video. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, support the channel any way you can would be really appreciated. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Don't know what that was. Like a damn. Damn. Okay, that was cringy. Bye.